We were young. We were still in school. You know, it was a different perspective, but it was a very passionate and informed perspective. And you and I very much are the opposite. You know, we're the counterpart team. That I mean, we've become a team now. But then it was almost like we were so similar, but yet so different. But it was just that was why it was such an interesting dynamic.
Yeah, I definitely think that, especially since he was starting to get more into the social networking aspect of the show, incorporating Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, I think the show knew that they wanted to have more of a youth perspective, and we brought that. We brought that to the show. So that's probably part of the reason. And I think they also liked having two females, two sort of tough females. We don't see that often enough, I think, in news organizations. So I think that's another reason that we sort of worked on the show. And since then, you know, we've actually become friends, oddly enough. Why do you think we get along so well?
Well, like I've said, I mean, I think you and I, we have different backgrounds, but yet we have the same passion about making a difference and getting involved in our community. And as far as service, you know, and taking part in our government, it just so happens that we have a different perspective as to which side of the political spectrum to come at it from. You know, we view the role of government differently, which is fine. You know, we need that tug of war, that back and forth, for moderation in our country. But I think we're very similar in that our passions, as far as our involvement and helping our communities and getting involved in our government, are very similar. So I think we definitely relate on that.
Right. Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, I think the difference between you and I and everybody else, regardless of what their political affiliation is that, and I don't want to say everybody else because, you know, I'll say most people. The difference between you and I and most people is that most people, regardless of whether they're Democrats or Republicans, is that they'll sit at home and they'll watch MSNBC or Fox or CNN very comfortably in their chairs, and they'll agree or disagree, and then they won't do anything about it. And I think you and I know that in order for change to happen, we have to go out there and demand change and organize folks to get together and collaborate to build coalitions. And I think even though we're on different sides of the spectrum, the fact that we have that connection makes us get along because we both have this sort of, you know, go-getter attitude. You know, we like to get things done. And if we see something that needs to be changed, we're going to do something about it. We're not going to be the ones sitting comfortably in our chair as we watch the news.
We may not agree on what exactly needs to be done, but at least we agree that there needs to be something done.
Right.
And we can talk it out until we can agree on something similar.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, and leaving it open for dialogue, too, being able to exchange our differences and do so in a way that's civil and reasonable and doesn't always give in to those partisan stereotypes, I think, makes us get along so well. We sort of know to separate, you know, the personal from the political. Which brings up an interesting point because we did CNN every week until the election day. And actually on election day, we were on for the full hour. And then since then, we've sort of been on sporadically. The last time we went on was in October when President Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize. So in December, I get a Facebook message from you, which was rather surprising because we hadn't really interacted a lot after that last segment.
Or really at all.
Really at all, yeah,
Through
absolutely.
the entire time we had been on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. And so you had a suggestion of starting an organization called Purple Challenge America.
Purple America Challenge.
Purple America Challenge, I'm sorry. Still getting used to it. Purple America Challenge. So what exactly is it? Because I thought it was a really great idea. What exactly is it, and how did you get the idea for it?
I guess during the kind of the holiday break, I thought about some things, and where I would be taking my life next and things like that. And just being young still, and having a lot of things that I haven't yet done that I'd kind of been holding myself back from. Just some of the crazy things, like skydiving, like that, for instance. I would never do that, but then I got to thinking, and it's like, why not do some of those things, but with a purpose? And that's how, jumping for charity kind of came along. I found some websites where you could, raise some money through a website, and then you could skydive for free. Basically because you raised a certain amount of money for a charity, and you could choose your charity. And that really got me, that opened up a whole new world of possibilities of things that you could do to really raise awareness about causes that you felt strongly about, which is kind of how I approach politics. I mean, it's activism, toward goals that I care passionately about, and or changes that I want to make happen. And the same thing with the charity efforts. So I thought about it, and I figured, what's a way that I can really, really raise awareness and tie this into my other passion in life, politics. And that's why I sent you a message, and I figured, hey, let's try to get both of us involved and maybe make this a competition. But later we figured out that it would work much better if we worked as a team, and then sent that over to CNN, and maybe we can get them involved with this effort. And since then, it's opened up like I said, a whole new world of possibilities of things we can do to kind of live out loud, but with a purpose.
Right. And I really liked the idea of Purple America Challenge.
The acronym is PAC, which, Political Action Committee.
Right.
Which is kind of it's a funny little thing that I came up with. So.
Yeah, it's sort of an interesting play on words, or in this case, I guess, play on letters. But what really struck me about Purple America Challenge was the whole sort of bipartisan aspect, because I feel like, our political climate has gotten increasingly more partisan. I mean, we saw that with the health care bill. It was down the line, Republican, Democrat divide. And things are just going to continue to get worse as we enter into midterm elections.
Well, that was the whole idea behind the organization. It's the two political sides, especially young people, which, if you can start out when you're young, working across the aisle, I hope, and chances are that you're going to continuously be civil for the rest of your life. We see a lot of older folks who are just so entrenched in their views, and they buy into all the stereotypes, and they don't even really hang out or like, anybody who comes from the other side. So this organization, it's awesome because I wake up thinking about it in the morning, new things that we could do with it, because it makes us work together. First of all, the two, all sides of the political spectrum. We're working toward a charity, and we're setting a good example. What we're doing is the message is going to spread on so many different levels. And that's pretty encouraging, and I'm glad we have this opportunity in front of us now.
Yeah, I mean, I think part of the problem in our political climate today is that people tend to buy into the partisan stereotypes. And the media has become increasingly more partisan. I mean, you have talk radio, and then you have MSNBC, and then you have Fox News, and then you have these very partisan blogs. And so it's very much divided. You can't just tune in to the news. I mean, there are still some fair and balanced news organizations, but people typically tend to gravitate toward, what their political affiliation is. And so Republicans will watch Fox News, Democrats will likely watch MSNBC, for instance.